Manchester United formally announced the deal for Lisandro Martinez, a player that Erik ten Hag and Man United have been working diligently and hard for over the past 3 to 4 weeks. They fought off Arsenal. They've captured the signature of another key player to the Ten Hag era, the revolution and the new philosophy that's being instilled at the football club. This is a big piece of business. There is an element of controversy with it, with the quote-unquote 10 million euros more in add-on fees to this deal. Some Man United fans complain that we have been done again. We're overpaying again. Is the player really worth that much money? But we're going to delve into that and much, much more for you in this video. But Lisandro Martinez signed, sealed, delivered, completed, official, a Manchester United player at Lisandro Martinez, there was a battle for him. Arsenal wanted him, 2 bids made. Man United, 2 bids made. On the day that Lisandro made his final decision, because let's go back to the beginning of this transfer, he loved the idea of coming to Manchester United. But I'm not weak enough to admit that he was open to joining Arsenal. He very much enjoyed his conversations with Mikel Arteta, was bought into the idea of being part of that revolution, that progression, the rebuild that is now seemingly complete for Mikel Arteta as he goes into his 3rd full season ready to fight on all fronts. With the likes of Zinchenko pretty much done, dusted, and over the line, Gabriel Jesus setting the team alight during pre-season, and of course Fabio Vieira still to make an impact, but Arsenal fans very, very, very excited. So Lisandro Martinez, of course, as one of the best up-and-coming left-backs in European football, progressive, can play out from the back, has proven himself at every level internationally, proven himself European stage, Champions League, and of course in the Eredivisie. He was ready to take that next step. He's ready to take that next step in his career to prove that he can play in one of the best leagues in the world. And Arsenal, for a period of time, are leading that race. And on the day that he made his final decision to join Manchester United, is now being quoted by Mike Verveil and, of course, by the brilliant Ben Jacobs, that there was a telephone conversation between Mikel Arteta and Lisandro Martinez, where Martinez at that point said, I have chosen Manchester United. Thank you. I really appreciate the interest, but I'm going to go there instead. I think Arsenal always felt the Ten Hag pool was going to be big in that. And it is the Ten Hag pool. It isn't the Man United pool. It's the Ten Hag pool. Playing for a manager that he knows, that trusts him, that wants to utilize him in his very best position. Because although a lot of people keep printing this, he isn't a midfielder and he isn't a left back. He can cover there. And he may play there from time to time. But he is a centre back. 96% of his career has been a centre back. So that's where he plays. And Man United won this race. Fantastic football player. Without a shadow of a doubt, a fantastic football player. And, I've seen him play 6-7 times. And I enjoyed what I saw. But it's the research since then. You should be definitely using Y-Scout to research your players better than YouTube. Trust me, better than just reading statistics. Because for every statistic on their website, the video footage backs up that. So if you want to see how good he is at tackles, ground duels, aerial duels, you can even scale it to a point where you can see how good he is in these scenarios if he's on a yellow card and his team's losing. What's his temperament like? What's his mentality like? How does he perform when you're winning versus when you're losing to when you're drawing, when you're home, when you're away, when it's a cup game, when it's a league game? You can detail it to that granular detail. And he's a sensational player. And I was saying this when we all thought he was going to join Arsenal, and I'm not going to change my tune just because he's joining Manchester United. But the big question comes down to, is he worth the money? Because again, I saw the mushrooms yesterday. The mushrooms, the fungus fans. Oh, why have we agreed to pay 65 million? Listen, people keep writing 65 million and failing to, of course, two elements. One, that's 65 million euros, not 65 million pounds. That's the first distinction that needs to be made here. The 65 million euros is 55 million pounds. Man United are paying 55 million euros as the base fee, of course, spread over a 5-year period. But 55 million is what we're going to pay. So that's actually 46 million pounds. Now, some would say that was overpriced. They were around 40 million people think this player is valued at. So United, because they've got into a bidding war with Arsenal, and people keep saying Arsenal pulled out of a bidding war. They didn't. They bid twice. We bid 3 times. They were in a bidding war. And Man United ended up paying a little bit more than they would have maybe liked to. But that's because Arsenal wanted him. And it is my fervent belief that if on that telephone call between Martinez and Mikel, Martinez says, I want you, I think Arsenal would have submitted another bid. And what you would have seen is Man United walk away and use the same PR tagline of, we weren't going to get dragged into a bidding war and overpay, so we've stepped away. It's like the rejection bingo. Every club uses the same thing when a player says no to them. We walked away. We're calling our interest. We didn't want to overspend. We think there's better value in the market elsewhere. All the same buzz lines. And I reject Man United as much as I reject Arsenal's. Everybody knows that. I'm very consistent with it. So am I bothered about what these mushrooms have got to say, that Man United are paying 55 million plus 10? No. And I'll tell you as to why. Because when you read into the detail of the extra 10 million euros, and by the way, the person that's reported this, that Man United being bantered by, is the same guy that said on the day that he picked Man United, he told Arsenal no, and Arsenal were preparing a new bid. So it's like, if you're going to believe one, you've got to believe the other, because the guy's obviously credible. But anyway, that's not for me to, rip people's logic apart. But anyway, I don't care, and nor should any Man United fan. This player cost a little bit more than Man United would have wanted to have paid. But this extra 10 million euros is only payable if he is an integral part in a successful Man United team that's winning trophies. And let me just tell you this now. If Lisandro Martinez is as good for Man United as he's been for Ajax, and there's always an if with any player moving to any club, if he's as good there as Man United as he was at Ajax, no one is going to care how much he cost. Add-ons, no add-ons, lump sum paid up front, sell-on clauses. No one gives a damn. When players are successful, you forget how much they cost. Nobody talks about it. Even in Harry Maguire's first season, his price tag was seldom mentioned all year because he and United did all right. They weren't perfect, but they did all right. Bruno Fernandes, although he had a hard time last year, he cost £57 million. That's all add-ons included. No one mentioned that he cost nearly £60 million. Ever. Why? Because he came in and delivered. And that's the way the cookie crumbles in these situations. So I'm not stressed and I'm not worried about it because I trust Erik ten Hag, his judgment in players and the style that he wants to deliver. And if you end up paying an extra little bit of money because you're in a bidding war, then that's fair enough. You're not always going to win every single battle. You're not always going to pick up every single player cheaply. And the reason I bring this up and I think it's so important is because these are the same. By the way, if you don't want to overpay for anybody at any point ever, that's a fair enough opinion. But you can't at the same time scream and shout and cry and boo-hoo that the transfers are taking too long. These two things you cannot hold those two thought processes at the same time. It's embarrassing to overspend, but please just hurry up and spend to get the deals done. Because if you're doing that, you're not negotiating and you're always going to overspend. Now, I've said it before. If you end up in a bidding war, generally the price goes above what you're willing to pay. But that's the nature of the beast. The reason that Man United ended up having to spend so much money on Harry Maguire is because Man City wanted him. If nobody else was in for him, he would have been cheaper. He still would have been too expensive, by the way, but he'd have been cheaper. And that's the way the cookie crumbles. So I get rivals bantering Man United. I get Arsenal fans doing everything in their power to deflect away from the fact that their number one defensive priority signing this summer told them no and picked Manchester United. I get why rivals want to banter United at every step of the way. And I don't really care about that. That's all's fair in love and war. But it's the fungus fans, the mushrooms, the Man United fans who are acting like suddenly this is a bad deal. I find that they're being so deliberately obtuse. They're being negative on purpose. They don't really mean it. They're not really angry. They completely get it and understand it. but they see the rivals bantering and they go, oh, I want a bit of that. If I'm the Man United fan that agrees with all those Arsenal and all those Chelsea and all those Liverpool fans, they're going to fluctuate towards me and share my tweets and watch my content and think I'm great. It's a bloody good plan, by the way. Hollow and transparent, but a very good plan because it works. It really does work. We like nothing more as football fans than to see an Arsenal fan slagging off his own team, a United fan slagging off his own team. You get it all the time. But for me, this is a fantastic piece of business. He's adding to the core. This is the core. The core is being built. Lisandro Martinez, as an example. He wants De Jong. If it isn't De Jong, it'll be somebody else. You've got Christian Eriksen that's come into this team. And there'll be a few more high quality, technically gifted football players that can play the style of football that Ten Hag wants. As I've said since before this summer began, not every problem is being solved this summer. And Man United fans, you're going to get bantered for it. You've got to learn to take it on the chin. Listen, people, I want you to do me a big, big favor and subscribe to the Terrace before you leave. Leave me your comments below. But Lisandro Martinez, 110% official. He is a Manchester United player. It's done, dusted,